Well, I mean, it was just thinking about how was I going to announce that I was going to walk away from the game. And for the most part, as athletes, we tend to think about that in terms of communicating that to the public or to fans. And but I realized I hadn't really had a chance to speak to the game itself. And so I decided that was going to be my focus. And once I had that focus, the words came pretty quickly. I actually wrote 2 drafts within about 30 minutes. And the first one was more confrontational in nature because it felt like the game was trying to tell me you need me and you can't walk away from this. This is who you are. And so the first tone was more confrontational. It was like, no, I can walk away from you. I can do something without you, And then like in every argument, you kind of calm down and you start seeing all the beautiful things that you've learned from the game, which is the second draft that you guys hear now. But I wanted to make sure it was visual. So it's easy to say, tell the game, I love you so much. But instead, I wanted to paint a picture with that. So if a kid is rolling his dad's stinky tube socks up, chances are you love the game enough to do that, So it's trying to say things visually. And fortunate enough, Dwayne Keane believed in the vision, and John Williams believed in the vision, and turned it into an animated film. I grew up in Italy, okay? So I didn't even know Oscars was a thing. I had no idea, And so when the nominations came out, we were nominated. It was like, oh, that's pretty crazy. It's pretty insane. And then to actually win it, I remember winning and just looking at my wife and going, what the fuck? It's just like, what? Okay, all right, this happened. All right. And I remember after we won it, we got in the car, and it was like a late night, right? So we out hanging out and stuff, and it's like 4 a.m. We're in the car going back, and I look at my wife and I go, now we gotta follow this shit up. But no, it's been a fantastic experience. It's been wonderful. But even more important than that, I got a lot of funny looks my last year when people said, okay, what are you going to do when you retire? And I said, well, I'm going to be a storyteller. Okay, that's cute. What is that? Now, I tell stories. Okay, all right. But so when you retire, you're going to go through different stages. You're going to be depressed the first week, the second week. And they would tell me this all the time. And so I felt like the nomination was validation that this thing is real. I can do this. I do have talent other than dribbling and shooting the basketball. I can actually write. Yeah. I think I was just born to play, man. I started playing at like 2 years old. And my father wasn't one of these fathers that was like, you're going to play basketball. He wasn't one of those guys. He was just I was just around the game a lot, and I gravitated to the ball, and I was completely geeking out about like the smell of the ball and like the way it sounds when it hits concrete versus how it hits a parquet floor, and like the sound of the nets and the different material of the nets. And there's certain basketball hoops, like in high school gyms and in college gyms, the rim sits slightly above the lower part of the backboard. And it was like, I was geeking out if I got into a gym which was like the NBA with the lower extension of the backboard and the hoop were completely parallel with each other. Like little shit like that would freak me out. So to answer your question, I was born to do this thing, man. And I did it nonstop all day long, from the age of 2 to when I retired, man. Sure. Well, no, I mean, it's that's the trick, isn't it? It's finding what you love to do. I mean, we talk about hard work all the time. It's like, man, if you got to get up every single morning and remind yourself how hard you need to work, you probably need to choose a different profession, Because that shouldn't be there. I wake up in the morning excited to get to it. If I'm not training, I'm missing it. If I'm not watching a game of basketball, I miss it. There's no place I'd rather be. And if you have that feeling, then you're truly doing what God has put you on this earth to do. Well, I mean, in business, it's a little different. I think the best way to prove your value is to work, is to learn, is to absorb, to be a sponge. But you always want to outwork your potential. As hard as you believe you can work harder than that. And that's what I tried to do when I first came in the league. But basketball is such a direct competition sport that me coming in at 17, I hated when my teammates would say, I get hit with an elbow. Right? Shaq would hit me with an elbow in practice. And Nick Van Exel would come up and say, are you okay? And Mao, are you okay? What the hell's wrong with you? So I always had that extra chip on my shoulder. So every day in practice for me was really trying to annihilate everybody that I was playing against. Because I wanted to prove you don't need to babysit me. I'm fine, And so it's always that competitive nature, the work ethic, and curiosity. Because I asked a lot of questions. Playing with Byron Scott, I asked him a lot of questions. Eddie Jones, who was great at chasing guards off the screens, and I didn't understand how to do that. I would sit with him before practice, after practice. Magic, James Worthy, Kurt Rambis, Kareem Abdul, all the Laker greats. I would always sit down and just ask them questions about certain games that I studied growing up. What actually happened there? What did you feel there? Why? Bird tough to defend? Why? Because you look slow as shit to me. I'm missing something. So like, tell me what I'm missing. You know what I mean? And so I would always ask questions and try to learn as much as I could. I just dream. I dream. I have dreams, and dreams is they should be pure. And I think a lot of times when we're born into this world, we actually wind up going backwards. And it seems like the more we mature, the more responsible our dreams become, and the more governors we put on ourselves and our ability to dream and to reimagine. And it's always a fight for us parents and for you guys to make sure that your dreams always stay pure. And so it's not a matter of pushing beyond your limitations or expectations. It's really a matter of protecting your dreams, protecting your imagination. That's limitless. I always dreamed as a kid that, it was possible to score 80 or 90 or 100. I always just had a dream. Like sometimes you lay down in bed and you visualize things. And you just kind of, that's at least how I would go to sleep. I'd lay down and I'd imagine playing for the Lakers, and I'd imagine what the uniforms look like. I'd imagine where we'd be playing, and, the smell of the arena and all sorts of stuff. And I would see myself, getting hot, and score 10 straight points. But in a dream, why would you ever interrupt that? You're not going to have a dream and be like, okay, then he misses his next 6. It's not going to happen. So you just keep dreaming and dreaming and dreaming. And before I go to sleep, I'm at 120 points, And so when you grow up, downloading that into your brain over and over and over. And then, that summer, I made 1,000 shots a day. 1,000, right? That's on top of weight training and my conditioning. I made 1,000 shots, and they weren't just shots. It were shots that you saw in that game. They were specific shots. It's coming out of the corner, going to the pinch post, footwork in the post, coming off the screen. It was very specific. So when you download that into your system, and you go out in the court, and you're just executing things that you've done thousands of times before, and you have that dream, then that becomes possible. Why reinvent it? I don't understand that. You go out and play the game, and you're just trying to create something new. No, this is what I do. This is what I do extremely well. You're going to have to stop me from doing that. If you do stop me from doing that, I have a counter to that. Done. My philosophy was a very simple one. And this is where I think film plays a big part of my life. Rudy was one of my favorite films growing up. watching that film, I come to understand if I could work that hard every day with being blessed with the physical tools that I have, what would my career be? And I made a promise to myself from that day that I was going to work that hard every single day so that when I do retire, I have no regrets. And that was the most important thing for me, is to leave no stone unturned, get better every single day. And if I lived that way, then over time, I'd have something that was beautiful. But that was my philosophy. It seems like a pretty simple one, but if you live your life to just get better every single day, and do that for 20 years, what do you have?